around to Hastings, although he did tell me that the depth that they're not at the jetty, at their mooring gets down to 600 mil. So
Wow.
that wipes me out.
2 feet.
I think it wipes most of us as keelboats out.
That'll just be
I
dinghies.
think we can get to the public jetty. I think that's okay. I don't know. Has anybody sailed around to Hastings? Is there any knowledge out there?
Yeah, I've sailed there in Shamrock years ago.
Yeah, right.
And of course, the draft on Shamrock was 1.4 metres, so probably easy to get in. Nice little channel you got to follow to get in there. But yeah, great spot. The other place, Stephen, around there is the other yacht club. You go under the bridge at San Remo and turn left. I'm just trying to remember the name of the yacht club there. That we never got there, but that was another destination.
That's New Haven, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That rings a bell.
Yep. So what is your new boat draw now, Rod? Are you gonna get there?
1.85. So I've got to readjust my thinking, Stephen.
Just better be careful. Don't start following Shamrock routes.
Yeah, but I've got depth sounders, depth indication to help.
But you were talking about you had another idea too, Rod, didn't you? About
yeah, look, I probably want to share with everybody the idea I was floating to Stephen the other day and a few others. And it's probably something that really post-COVID that we need those conditions to open up before we can get into it. I love racing to St Leonard's, and then a lot of us continue, or some of us continue on round to Queenscliff for the night, stay overnight, come back the next day. But my suggestion is, and it'll probably be a few years hence by the time we can do it, is that we try and sweep up an involvement of racing and cruising and land-based people in one event. And it's built around a 3-day long weekend, and you have your racing fleet set off from Williamstown, and let's say the first destination is Port Arlington. So there's a group that race to Port Arlington, there's a group that cruise to Port Arlington, and there's a group that go by car. So the car team participates in a way where they've got a bit of a car rally to conduct, and treasure hunt or something like that. They've got a task to identify certain things along the way that they participate as well. We all meet at Port Arlington, for instance, on the first night, and have dinner up the pub there, and then those in the car have the option to switch to a boat for the next leg, and say let's say the next leg is from there to Queenscliff, and we meet there for the night and stay the night there. At the end of that leg, we've got perhaps a bit of a tally up of the scores and awards for the races and those who raced all the way, those who cruised, those who went by car and did the treasure hunt competition, and award a few prizes, and then the following day you can all sort of cruise back home again. So, but fair bit of organisation in it, and really you need a lot more freedom than what we live under these days.
Oh, I reckon that's a great idea, Rod, and I think you've obviously put your hand up as being the event director. So thank you. On behalf of the club, we all give you a big round of applause and thank you. Surely you've known by now, sitting on a committee, you should never have an idea.
I know. I should have learned it a long time ago.
I think the second thing is never volunteer for anything.
Yeah. That's it. Well done. Has anybody else got any thoughts?
Yeah, Stephen, just before you go on,
yes.
Just a bit concerned here. There's someone on the screen there looks very much like some sort of undercover policeman with a beard. I think he's spying on us. Not sure. It's either that or Asia he's from.
Right.
That might, if that's me, I'll work for.
No, it's got the name Gary Marks underneath it.
Okay.
Gary Marks, make a noise, and then you'll come up on my screen.
Yeah, how are you, everybody?
There we go. Oh, look at the beard. Woo,
Yeah.
look at that. Beautiful.
It's in retirement. That's what it was all about.
Say, Gary, you look as though you've retired.
Yeah, except it's a big grey down there, mate. I'm a bit worried about that.
I can soon fix
the way
that.
it is.
Have you been?
What do you use to grow that grow that beard, did it?
Sorry?
40 years to grow your beard.
Yeah, well, no, 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
Is that the time you've been gardening hotels?
Yeah.
No, I'm
Oh, Gavin.
no.
We're not going there. So,
No,
Gary,
nothing to do with that.
Gary, you and Deb do a bit of cruising. What are your thoughts around that? We need to get a bit more action rather than just racing.
I like that idea. It sounds really good, and to incorporate like racing and cruising and people on the land, it's a fantastic idea. Yeah, I'd be right in that. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Well, that's good, Rod. You've got to help her to organise it, mate. Turn here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Because Gary, you've been going across to Beaumaris and anchoring on some still nights, haven't you?
Yeah, in Beaumaris Bay, it's been really. We found that it's a nice, very quiet, calm and serene anchorage, just to try out our anchoring skills. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
So the next thing I had on my list here was e-sailing, and because I wanted Paul to tell us all about. So you were proudly telling me the other night, Paul. You should never tell me things. You know this. That you were leading the world in some round the world race. Now, Craig, is this right? Where's Craig?
He's been telling everybody about it.
Yeah,
everybody about it like that.
But Craig, you're here to tell me whether it's correct or not.
Sadly, it is correct.
Oh, damn it.
Why did you make me say that? I'm not far behind him either, so I just want to let you know that.
So this is the offshore stuff. So where are you guys racing at the moment?
We're off to Japan.
Off to Japan. So Craig, have you got your alarm clock on every hour during the night?
I'm about an hour and a half person.
Oh, you're an hour and a half person, right? So where are you in the fleet then? Because we know.
I think I'm about 140th. I'm about 140th. Paulie's about 80th at the moment. But there's 20,000 in it. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Mark Zaha's doing very good too.
Is he?
Yeah. So anyway, the pressure's on. The pressure's on.
So how many in the Hobbos fleet this time?
It's about 10 of us, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So and most are doing pretty good too. We're probably in the top quarter. There's no one below about 5,000 at the moment, and there's like I said, there's 21,000 in it. So.
Right. Well, there you go.
But the trouble is, once you get up high, you can't sleep now because you're doomed to failure.
Well, the last race I did, I only went to sleep and ran aground on the Scilly Isles on the bloody Fastnet race. So
yeah, we knew that because we were talking about you for days.
I'm just here for you to talk about me. Okay, that's great.
It was great.
But on the other end of the e-sailing, we're also doing these squadron races. We're doing 4 races a week with squadron, and there's about 8 of us. So that's working out pretty well, I think. And the Hobbos are really, we're standing our ground. It's good. So these are 6-minute races as opposed to 10-day races.
Yeah. Okay.
So after 4 races, your blood pressure's up, or certainly mine.
So is Royals in it as well, Steve?
Yeah, we don't have many boats from Royals. There's not too many. But
how many from Royal Melbourne versus us?
We're about equal, 8 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them off Roller Coaster there. So we've got John Taylor and a few of those guys. But Simon Hobbs is our star. I don't know whether Simon's with us tonight. Is he? Scan the. Can you see everybody, Rod?
No, he's not there.
He's not there. All right. Well, he's probably resting because he's exhausted himself.
Stephen.
Hello.
So tell me.
Can I compliment you on your background? It's absolutely beautiful.
You like that?
Where do we go to sign up for that?
Yeah.
You've got to speak very nicely to James Walsh, and he'll give you a picture. Is James with us?
You mean you're not live? You mean you're not live?
Sorry.
Apart from that glass of red wine.
There's a bunch of us down the club. I don't know why you're not with us.
Yeah, they're all there drinking. Can't you see?
Even Pat's out on his boat. He's got spotlights, and he's invested in spotlights now.
I can see the glass of red.
Stephen,
glass of red wine going up and down.
Yeah.
Stephen, it must have been free beer or something because I can see Bill Fiore in the background there.
Hey, Paul, you were supposed to have the same background on. I don't know what's happened there.
Oh, was I? Oh, sorry.
No, I sent you instructions.
Oh, okay, yep.
All right. So
I'm just impressed with Pat's fluidity.
Yes.
He's very spectacular. You know, he's sort of very organic there, Pat.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
We're going to have to conjure up an e-sailing trophy, I think.
Now, just one question. Just one question.
Yeah.
You guys that's doing all this e-sailing.
Yep.
Do you have to be knowledgeable in sailing, or is it about IT and how quick your fingers can move on the keyboard?
Oh, everything, mate. You've got to be
A bit of both. Eh?
You've got to be across everything. Just ask Paul.
Yeah.
No, probably not the computer stuff, mate. I'm not on top of that stuff. But
What are you playing on your phone? Do you? What?
oh, mate, I meant to work for 8 hours at work, but I think I spend 7.5 on this e-sailing at night time. So,
There you go. There's the world champion. This is what you do. You got to.
You got to
He's
keep
probably
up.
on it. He's probably on it now.
well, not far off it, but right.
I heard your alarm go off.
We do need to get some trophies wrapped around this somehow, so we'll work on that. And as I've said a couple of times in the e-news, I'm going to do a trophy audit. There's a couple of big, large cups in the cabinet with that haven't been used for a while. I think actually one of them there's two big ones from the Endeavour Association. So Endeavour 24s, 26s from many years ago. So I don't know. Is Mark Sheehan on board here?
No, he's not on board tonight.
He's not on board tonight. Okay. Anyway, well, Mark is, and Mark was directly involved with the Endeavour, so he certainly said we can use these trophies. So I think we've got a new Endeavour trophy coming up that we can align to something. So if anybody's got any idea as to what race or what event we should attribute an Endeavour trophy to, I think that would be a great thing, and it's a nice looking trophy.
It's a good trophy, yeah.
It's a big one, Craig, isn't it?
Yeah, I was involved with Frank Rendell. You know, that's when I first started sailing. I sailed with Frank Rendell a lot.
Oh, so your name's on that, is it, Craig?
Well, my name's not. Frank is the owner. We're on there a few times. Don't worry about that.
I do remember, Craig, you crewing with Frank. Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't such a gentleman on the water.
No, we know he wasn't a gentleman on the water. No, I've had a couple of altercations with him.
Love it.
That's
It was great.
not
Good
the,
days.
That's not the Naga trophy that got buried in the clubhouse foundations, was it?
No, it's a different one.
No, it looks like the Sea Pilots trophy.
Ah.
Big one.
Yeah.
It's a big silver cup.
Yeah, there's a couple of older trophies there going back to the early 20th century as well that I think could probably be repurposed. There's a fantastic one there with a boat on top of it and that. That just sort of sits there, and that'd be a major trophy to put into some race somewhere.
There's one called the Jackson Trophy, I think, Tony. You might not remember this, but it was back in the 20s, I think. One in the 20s.
I don't quite remember that.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't. I'm in a bit of trouble. I think I might have internet problems.
Stephen, I think with the trophies,
yep,
it might be worth. I know the general committee's on top of this, and I know that sailing committee have been told, but in the past we are perpetual trophies on Saturdays with our combined racing with Royal and Royal Melbourne. Whoever wins that gets their name and perpetual trophy. But we've now changed that for the following season. That Saturday aggregate perpetual trophies will only be awarded to Hobbs Bay yacht club boats.
Yep.
And Royals agreed that it's fair, but that's only the perpetual trophies for the Saturday club aggregate races. So your Sea Pilots, your Brass Monkeys, your two-handed trophies, they're still up for grabs for other clubs. But the Saturday aggregate trophies are for Hobson's Bay only boats, as well as the John Neilson series is only for Hobson's Bay boats to win that.
Yes, that's right.
Series as well.
Yeah, so that's a good move, I think, Paul. So thank you.
Yep.
So yes. So
Stephen.
Hello. Yes.
Stephen, are there any trophies that have got cruising recipients on board on them? Anything we could target for a cruising event? Cruising achievement.
I've been
That'd be the Thursday night people, wouldn't
it? Cheeky boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
You okay?
it? I think I'm doing it this season, so I better shut up.
Yeah, look out.
You,
It might
you
be.
leave that trophy alone, I'm on that. It's the only one I've got.
Me too.
I think it was when you were Vice Commodore, Gary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Might have been. We won't go
Yeah,
All right. So as I said, we've written a notice of races. We're getting those all checked. We've also redefined some of the solo sailing guidelines. We know there's a few people who are keen to sail their boats on their own. So, but please check out those guidelines, but also the MOB requirements, and there'll be some fairly strong. Well, we'll certainly be reinforcing some of the MOB requirements over the next season when we do get on the water, with the written procedures and the use of the dummy. So the dummy's been found. So I think we need to book ourselves in and work our way through that, because it's all about practice, practice, practice.
Absolutely.
Gary, you've done that, haven't you, many times? Just nod your head, Gary. It's gone quiet.
He switched off.
He switched off.
That's
I'm
it.
here.
He's
I
there.
just turn on and off every now and then.
Oh, okay, okay. We could hear you nodding your head. That's okay.
Yeah. No, we've used that in the demonstrations with the boat. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think with the men overboard, Stephen, but
Yeah.
it's probably worth talking about the fact that some members have brought to our attention that, is it realistic to throw a person in the water in winter to comply with that requirement? We're probably putting people in danger in that. But so I think the sailing committee, we're looking at avenues of we don't expect the person to be thrown in the water, but if you can prove to the sailing committee that some method of retrieving somebody in that you may be granted dispensation in that. But we do have the club dummy. We do intend on running more courses and training. But that was it was well noted, because it is. We don't want a 60, 70-year-old person jumping in the water just to prove that they can do it, and they get more trouble than what the whole exercise is about. So
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Right.
Thank you. I think that's very important, which is why we've got the club dummy, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, Colin, the last time we ran a course with Lee Brennan Smith, I suggested to him that very same issue, but he was so keen to have a live person do it that he volunteered his son, who was
that's right.
young.
Too, yeah.
Yes, because he said he couldn't properly demonstrate it with a dummy. But
Right.
what you're saying is totally correct. We do need to make sure that particularly older people aren't going into freezing cold water.
Yeah.
So then the other thing that we'll change with all our races is that we'll have a different sign-on process. Rather than our text sign-on process, we'll be instigating a crew declaration. If anybody's done any ocean racing, it's all done through Top Yacht. It'll be done through your phone, so you can, as you're heading out to the race, you can just click your name against Pat, and Paul's on board today, and off you go. So that I've prepared some documents around that, and as we get closer, we'll have a few how-to events in terms of how you get it onto your phone. Gary's had a bit of a shot at that. I know Roy Thompson's had a bit of a shot at it. This will also help us with any COVID tracing that we might be required to do as well through the government regulations. So I think it's a good thing to do. So if there is an accident, an unfortunate accident, we know exactly who is in the water, because we know names of the people who are on that particular boat. So that's a lot of the other yacht clubs around the bay have a similar system. So we're now catching up with that. So stay tuned. There will be some how to do documents around that, and we'll be running some separate sessions too.
Stephen,
Hello,
has there been any word as to whether Royals are going to adopt something similar? Say for the Wednesday night twilights at the moment, there's no signing on at all.
That's a good question, Colin. I don't know about that. I know Squadron have got this, and they've had this system for a period of time now. But I need to speak to Alicia to find out exactly what they're doing. That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah.
I think as well, Stephen, that I think that the reason the range rates do this at the moment, and once it's set up, it's very simple. But I think what we're aiming to do is instead of just being how many people are on board, because really the police don't really care the names of the people, male, female, or whatever. But through this pandemic, that it's for us for COVID tracing, it sort of ticks 2 boxes for us. So it's not saying that it's actually mandatory to have everybody's name on the sheet, just the amount of people. But to go that step further to help us out, we require the names and phone numbers and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, that's right, Paul. Thanks. So we are getting into new racing rules too. So from the start of next season, or next year, not season. Well, it might be the next season. I don't know. Well, we've got new racing rules of sailing coming out, and if you go to our website, if you go to the racing page and you go to the info page, the new sailing rules are there.
So, Stephen,
Hello.
The new rules, under the new rules, starboard has to give way to port, I believe.
No, Paul, Colin, no, you can ignore that. I think if you've read my last, I made a terrible mess up of that, and I have to acknowledge that Eddie picked that up very rapidly. He was fine within about half an hour of that being published. It's saying, "This is complete bullshit, Stephen, isn't it? What's going on?"
Yes, I picked it up before it was published, but that's another story.
Oh, did you now? Okay, well
Yes.
done. Thank you, Mr. Editor.
Yeah.
And also, I think they've also stopped this colour blindness issue so we're going to stick with the red and the green, aren't we, Colin?
Yes.
Yes. So also a big shout out. We should all do a big shout out to our start boat crew who regularly man our boat. We couldn't run races. We couldn't run any events without our start boat crew. And this week I've sent out the roster in an air of positivity. So people are coming back and clicking in and saying, yes, we're available. We are going through some reskilling or upskilling, I shouldn't say reskilling, just in terms of first aid courses and some boat handling courses for everybody, just so that we're all on top of all of the latest stuff. I think that's important. So that's happening. What else is happening, Paul? You were at the club captains thing the other night, range races. There's talk about that.
Yeah, I can see Bill's on the line, or Bill's there too, so he'd be interested in this. They're going to do like a rolling calendar, so their expectation is that they won't kick off at the whatever the first date scheduled. So they'll try to push possibly 3 races in on a day, so they'll make they'll put that in the notice of race. So you may do 3 races on one day, but they intend on going ahead with that. They were talking about doing a 2-handed event as well, because we have the white series, the blue series. They were talking about doing a 2-handed series and that, but that pretty much got quashed last night and maybe looked at another time. There's a big push for ORCI coming into Victoria. I think Blair Gary's pushing really hard for that. And I think the main reason is about the price. Apparently the first year is only $45 compared to, I think an S80 might be $350 a year or $300. But I don't know what the ORCB price will be in the second year. But look, it's pretty much, from what I can see from, it's big in Sydney and the Cruise and Yacht Club. And from what I can see with the TB52s, there's not a hell of a lot of difference. Be different numbers, but the gap's not much difference. Where I think for us, AMS tends to favour the narrow sort of boats over the IRC. IRC really hurts the skinny boats, and we have a lot of people like Icon that they're built for IRC, they're designed for IRC rating. So we don't feel that's if people want to do it, we'll support it. But we're going to put our resources into the AMS and continue the IRC around the bay at this stage.
Yep. Paul,
but really, I think the other thing was that Blair Gary's not sure whether the Petersville Regatta is going to go ahead as planned, and Festival of Sales will make a decision in mid to late November on where they go. They've got different options, and so we'll stay tuned whether that goes ahead as well or revised. A lot of regattas around the bay have been cancelled. Obviously, Lipton Cup, A lot of junior events are now starting to get cancelled. So it's everyone's rolling their calendars and seeing what happens.
Yes, yes. So, Paul, what about the Port Phillip Women's Championship Series? There's in Australian sailing are keen to. I think we're all keen to push that along and give that some impetus.
Yeah, look, there's some changes made 12 months ago, I think 2 years ago, where another sailing committee, Colin was Vice Commodore, that Leo was our rep, and I think they overcomplicated the series within it with all these new rules of, female participation, either a female skipper with male crew, and then you could have 30% female crew, and then you'd have fully female crew, and just got too confusing. And I think in the end of the actual series, I think you may have had 3 to 4 boats that actually competed in the whole series, where people just do the individual, either the Shirley from Hobbos or whatever for Royal Melbourne. So they're trying to simplify it a little bit. But they'll still go ahead of it, but hopefully simplified, and Top Yacht are sort of walking away from that. So we're looking at somebody to sort of manage the results. I think Royal Melbourne put their hand up.
Yeah, Squadron's up to do that. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's Sally and I had a conversation. Sally's my wife's the she sales rep for the club now, and I think we're in agreement that if it gets too overcomplicated, and then for example, Kath Beaufort on Up and Go, she usually has a female crew. If she happens to with the 5 race series, a couple of females can't make it, and she has to get a couple of male, then she's out of that series, which is not really fair. So, we think it's really important. I think ORCV have got it right with their passage race, and on their return trip, they have a female skipper and a female navigator, and I think that's the way to go. At the moment, I think that's fair. And for being honest, we don't have a lot of female participation, something we're working on, but I think that's a realistic view, and it's a fair way for. That doesn't mean that if you've got a female skipper and a female navigator, that you can't have another 10 females on board. It just means that I think that's a realistic target to achieve at this time.
Yeah. So you mentioned ORCV, and obviously a lot of their stuff over Christmas is going to be a bit problematic, or certainly at the moment. But they're talking about this round Chancellor Island race, Paul, aren't they? You across that?
I think. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Look, there's a couple of options Justin spoke about last night. It's just whether Tasmania will let them into the waters and stuff like that. So I believe they don't really want to go east or west. So they're looking at a couple of different options. But I think Justin and ORCV will probably something in the next week or so.
Okay.
They're looking at some sort of event. They're focusing really on 2-handed and 4+ at the moment. I'm promoting that, I believe. So we'll just have to stay tuned. But they're doing a lot of work at the moment, which is great.
Okay. So that's probably about us, isn't it? I guess in a wrap up from me, I see it's not just racing. I'm fairly broad in what we as a club should be offering, and we've talked about cruising. I'm very keen to have a broad spectrum in terms of what we do with our boats out there. I think Paul and I, you and I have also spoken about mentoring. Perhaps if people are a bit unsure about using their boats, let's try and get a mentoring program in, and one of us jump on somebody else's boat and help them through a race or a cruise. I think that would be a great thing to do. So if people can then get out there and feel a bit more confident, I think we've done a good job then. I don't know what other people think, whether there are any other comments out there about that idea.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay.
We've spoken about it before.
Beg your pardon?
We have spoken about that before, trying to get something like that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we might open it up to the floor. Are there any other questions, issues, things?
Stephen, just re your mentoring thing.
Yep.
I've had one member say, he's quite happy sailing his boat, but he's got no idea what to do with the spinnaker, and he'd really like someone to help him with that in terms of racing. So, yeah, there's certainly a need for spreading the skills around.
Was that Pat Crusoe, or was that
It wasn't Billy, Paul.
Have you got a spinnaker, Pat?
I've got a couple.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, I mean,
This was a new member.
He doesn't want to scratch the decor.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Still
Yeah,
obviously.
I want to keep it like new.
Yeah, I get blood nose if I go on the foredeck, so it doesn't work for me. But sure, there's many other. So Jonathan, you're putting your hand up there.
Oh, well, I wouldn't claim to be an expert, but we've certainly got the knowledge in the club. So, yeah, I agree. The policy should be to share around a bit.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. So I think just we should spread that word around, and I'll put a bit more into the newsletter perhaps about that. And if we can get more boats on the water and bring some other boats into some of the the smaller races, I think that would be a great thing. Is there anything that we haven't touched? Is there any topics?
There was just an update. I've just got an update where the e-sailing is going at the moment.
Right. So that's you, is it?
That's me. Yes, I'm the gold boat.
So where's Paul?
Paul is the blue boat a bit further north. He's the blue boat there. He's coming 80th.
Excellent. So where are you sailing to at the moment?
We're sailing to Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
Early beach to Japan.
So, Paul, you should know what you're doing there. You've done that before.
Yeah, well, that wasn't a good success. Let me tell you, we made it, but it wasn't. It's bringing back some bad memories. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, Tim Ford's also in it, and he's done it 3 times, and he's way behind us. So
we're learning from our mistakes. So
yes.
He knows what's coming up, Craig.
Beg your pardon?
Perhaps he knows what's ahead of you all. So he's
he's so far behind. He's out the back door now. Don't worry, we told him days ago.
Tim's not going to wake up in the middle of the night to change course. Tim's going to get his sleep, and there's nothing stopping him.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so.
Okay, right. So you use that.
He's doing the you snooze, you lose policy.
How many do you have on deck? Just one, just yourselves, individually.
Yeah.
Single-handed, literally.
Single-handed. So we're pretty selfish out here.
Yeah.
Come and join us, Pat.
Well, must be a lot of boats. I mean, you'd be pretty crowded out there. 21,000 yachts. Gee, that's pretty crowded.
21,000. No, you can sort that too. Don't worry about that. You can just call port or starboard, depending on what Steve wants to call us.
That's right. But I tell you what, the guys on the Solomon Islands are getting really bloody excited. They're seeing this stuff come over the horizon.
Hey.
I'll tell you what, I'd be looking forward to the party at the end, actually, 20,000 people.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, what haven't we covered, guys? Is there any...
Can I just throw something into the pot here?
Yeah, please.
From my perspective, I guess we've got 20 or 30 or 40 maybe boats who are keen racers, but we've got 120 odd boats out there. So where are the other 60 or 70 boats? And what do we need to do to encourage them to get involved and get excited about what we do? I think I'm looking at tonight's thing. We're all about people who have gone racing and do racing, but we've still got another 70 or 80 boats out there that we don't excite. So how do we suck them into the club?
Well, I guess good question, Kevin. Yeah, I guess we're trying to do that by talking about getting some cruises and bringing some people along and all going to a destination together. I mean, Rod's talked about that concept of some of us can race one way and the cruisers can come in later, but we all end up at a destination together. So we are very keen to try to do exactly what you're talking about and bring some of those other boats out on the water with us.
Yeah, I don't have the answers. I'm just raising the question.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to approach them individually and see what their interests are, see whether they have some sort of I guess confidence thing that doesn't allow them to get out there. Some probably are not interested. There'll be a few that just want to sort of laze about with their yachts and just go out for a gentle cruise, but maybe just getting them into on another boat on a cruise, and they might suddenly realise what they've been missing out on.
Yep.
I think if we can solve that problem, I think we would be one of the only yacht clubs to solve it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I sort of...
Really difficult.
I sort of wake up in the middle of the night and say, all of our races are revolved around series rather than individuals. So does that mean the people, if they're not in a series, they don't come for the day? Or do they work on, if I don't enter the series, well, then I'm not involved? So can we do individual one-off races for one-off people?
Well, they can enter any race.
Yeah, I know, but I think they
at any time.
Series
they just won't be scored in a series.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so if they come in the third race of a hot pursuit, they can enter the series, but they won't get a result for the first two races. But anybody can enter a race at any time. It's just whether you're included in the series or not is the question.
So, my question is, do we put too much emphasis on the series and not enough on the individual race?
No, look, I think one of the issues that we've tried to address in this way is things like the long distance races and that, trying to encourage cruising boats to go into that, and it's been partially successful, but we're still missing out on a whole heap of boats, and those races are actually ideal for slower cruising boats. You just head off down to Port Arlington and one tack and you're there, if that's the way it works. So it's very hard to engage people, I think, at this stage.
Well, are there any cruisers online tonight? Is there anybody there that doesn't normally join us in some of these races, perhaps, that could... is there anybody there, or are we all...
Well, I'm a bit of a cruiser and a racer. Well, I try and race. But I think we've tried so many different times to get people involved in cruises and have cruising destinations. People are reticent to commit until the last minute because of weather and whatever else. So yeah. I think that's half the problem. And then by the time you get to the day when you're going to leave for your destination, there's only the core 2 or 3 boats left. So it always ends up the same people end up going on the same cruises. So
yeah,
I don't know what the answer is. It's very difficult.
I think we've just got to start a few events, Gary, and you and I'll head off and we'll see who follows us.
Yeah, I think that's probably the answer. Yeah,
you've got a big oven on your boat, haven't you? Because I've got nothing. So I'm going to raft up next to you, Gary.
I think too, Kevin. I think looking at obviously I look at keeping an eye on all the results around the bay from most clubs, and I think I touched on it before that our Saturday races are where we really fall down. But in our hot pursuit, in our two-handed series, and our twilights on the Thursday nights, we are far, maybe not Sandringham. Sandringham's a bit in their own league, but certainly compared to Geelong and the other bays, clubs in the bay, we're above average on the boats we've got competing in those races. It's just a Saturday I find that we lack. I don't know why, because there's different varieties in the Saturday aggregate of races. There's some longer ones, there's some real short ones, and that. But I think in general we're tracking really well, and I think the on-water fee may really help that and to make it easier for people. I think that was a good move. But yeah, I think it's just the Saturdays that Saturdays are the things that concern me at the moment. Not the long distance aggregate. The long distance aggregate that is in the John Neilson series. I mean, there's 30 to 40 boats entered in that. I don't think there was any less than 20 that turned up at any of those 2 races that we managed to get this year. But they're obviously popular for our club, the St Leonards, the Port Arlington, and now the Wyndham Harbour and the Morton race. We get some good fleets there. So I'm quite happy with our numbers.
Yeah, I think you're right, Paul. And I think things like the winter series races and stuff like that, we have more boats than anybody else has over the winter series. It's just fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
And what we've got there is a whole heap of different types of racing on the day. There's probably 3 or 4 different types of races on any afternoon in the winter series, and there's something for everybody. And I think that's worked out really well, and it's fantastic.
Can I just throw in another possibility here? Do we, on the demographics of the age of the population we're talking about, are all our racers and boaties, the ones that are participating, are they all of an age? And are we missing out on some other age group and compared to other clubs and compared to ourselves?
I believe we're about on par, Evan, from my discussion.
We're all ancient.
Yep. Yes.
I would have said Gary, a fit and virile, if you don't mind, but anyway.
Stephen, can I throw another idea into the ring?
Yes, please.
And Jonathan Fry, you might have a view on this. I'm just thinking of juniors you're training up and their path from junior sailing to keelboats. Is there an event or something we could build around having juniors who've gone through training, they're showing a bit of interest and promise to crew on some of our keelboats in an event or something? And I seem to recollect that Ian Robertson had a juniors crew on Three Ring Circus one year, and they sailed the boat really well in an event. Somebody else might remember it, but just a way.
You're also channeling John Bish, aren't you, from last weekend's thing? Remember, he used to take the young lads to Fiji, didn't he?
Right.
That's right. That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was interested.
Bring a bit of youth into it, encouraging our younger people to get involved and get excited about it.
Maybe one of those trophies that we've got there that aren't used could be for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. Did anybody go to John Wall's presentation last night? That one of the things he was talking about was the Out There series, I think it is, Rod. You might be able to back me up on this, but Sandringham, because they've got a lot of money, have a whole fleet of Beneteaus apparently, where they take people off the street, put them in Beneteaus and send them out racing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the boats are working really well for Sandringham.
yeah, apparently they're getting a really good take up on that. So there is a way that you can get the uninitiated into keel boats. We've just got to kind of get creative about how we do it.
I mean,
We'll put them on rocket science already.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Paulie.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This is all part of the plan, Paul.
Yeah.
I think one
That's
of
right.
the issues, that's really apparent with getting kids into sailing, most kids don't want to sail keel boats. It's boring most of the time. They want to sail things like falling moths and stuff like that. That's what those kids are interested in. And it's really hard to engage them in keelboat racing where you're on one tack for 2 hours at a time, particularly if you're doing a long distance series and stuff like that. So it's very hard to keep them interested in the long term when there's much more exciting stuff and a lot more competition for recreational time. So that's the issue that we've got in terms of juniors.
Boat then, we'll lend Tim's boat out.
No, the Wasp.
Yeah, the Wasp. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yes. So sail with Colin for half an hour and you get to go on the Wasp.
Yeah.
If they were sailing with me, the Wasp would just seem just passé.
Oh,
If you're starting on a tack for 2 hours, maybe you need more update your magazines.
So it's interesting that we've all defaulted back to racing, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, Stephen, I've just got a comment for Gary. You said Beaumaris Bay. I don't know how deep the water is there, but if you've ever been tempted to tie up to the pier that comes out from the Motor Yacht Club, it is actually accessible from the road, and apparently there's turf wars that go on down there between various ethnic groups, so it's not a good place to tie up.
No, we're always 50 metres offshore on the anchor.
Right. Yeah. No, I looked at it once and thought, oh, that might be a good place to take the trailer sailor or something. And a bloke who's very familiar down there with all the conditions said, no, don't go there after dark. It's just not worth it.
No, they have to swim out to me, Colin.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that might be it. I think. Thank you, everybody. We've had some good discussion. I hope.
Great.
So how many starters have we got this evening, guys?
We got up to
20, I think.
26. We got up to 26.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that a good cross section of all of us, Rod?
I'd like more. So we've increased it every week. So I just think that the more we do, the more people get accustomed to having a scene like you, Stephen, behind you. So I think we just got to keep plugging away and realising that it's a nice casual way just to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a question.
Yes.
Question for Rob Tanner. We haven't heard from him.
No,
Was it like this in your day, Rob?
I was going to say, whoever asked about what can we do to increase the participation, that same question has been asked for over 45 years in my experience of many different yacht clubs. Continues to be asked.
Well, Rob, we've got a set of annual reports here going back to the 1930s, and the 1930s had exactly the same question. Not enough participation, not enough people turning up for dinners on Friday nights, all this sort of stuff. The dialogue has not changed in 100 years.
No, you're quite right.
Perhaps
and you'll know, Tony and Colin, you'll be the same when we go to Commodore's dinners in the 1980s. The same questions are still asked now about what can we do, more participation, what do we do about yachting Victoria and so forth.
So maybe the question is, as long as we got the marina full of boats, you don't have to do much worrying about it.
Well, that's right, Kevin. That's right. Our marina is full, isn't it?
And
well, perhaps we need to win another America's Cup.
Yeah.
I really do think Tony had a good point. We've got excellent participation compared to a lot of other clubs. You look around, as you say, the Thursday nights, the brass monkeys, the two-handed races particularly, that not many other clubs get that sort of participation in a wide cross-section of boats.
Yes.
I think, Colin, you and I had a conversation, or it might have been me and you, Rob, in regards to, we have a massive amount of social members at our club. If we can tap into them to get them crew involved somehow, making it easy for them to, whether the sailing committee takes it on board, to speak to skippers that may be willing to take people out. They can just turn up on a Sunday afternoon for a hop pursuit. And, if the skippers are willing to take one or two people, we might be able to tap into that.
I think that's a great idea, Paulie, because one of the real challenges would be to transfer social members into crew membership, which would be a great achievement. I think that would be a really good thing to do, because a lot of the social members have absolutely no idea what the club does.
Yeah.
And I think that transfer to sailing members would be really worthwhile focusing on.
Do we need to do a bit of a survey with them then, just try and extract some of those answers, I guess, to find out what their interests are and whether they'd want to try sailing, whether they're interested in being part of a committee, whether they're interested in a whole lot of things. I don't know whether we've actually ever asked them, though, have we?
Pat, don't scare them off with the committee stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, I think we just approach them when we can get back to the bar.
Yes.
Bar, we front up and we have a chat and we just see. I think
I've been seeing social members for 20 years want to do it. So there is many social members that just say, I don't know how to even get involved. And so that's, so yes, I think there is probably, let's look within our domain and let's look at our database of social members and let's make some efforts in some certain dates that we concentrate on. I heard Paul mentioned that Sunday on the pursuit race. I think they're perfect, and I think Thursday nights are perfect as well.
Yep.
Same for them.
Well said, Rob.
So Stephen, we'll put that on the agenda for Tuesday night sailing committee meeting, and we might forward that onto the membership committee for their thoughts as well. And we'll work with Rod.
If we've got time somewhere,
come up with
a social members race day. So you have three social members on your boat to compete.
We might have a social member trophy.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about maybe introducing them in the opening day, maybe talking to skippers and getting them involved in opening day and encouraging them. So
we need to. During COVID, we had to cancel probably a first new members night for about 12 months. So for and I think we need to resurrect that as soon as we're out of COVID as well, to really and have something really prepared for that night to the people that have joined in the last 12 months. This is what we're going to offer you. So I think, yeah, well, let's get ready for that.
Yeah.
I think you might find opening days restricted to two-handed, isn't it?
Yeah. They know Sandringham Yacht Clubs, they've cancelled their opening days the same day as the grand final. They seem to follow the grand final. So they've gone from September or the end of first week of October to the end of October. So yeah, the
grand final is going to be in Queensland, so who cares?
Okay.
If Richmond is playing, the Vice Commodore will certainly care.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a few Richmond supporters here too, by the way.
Richmond will be fine. Don't worry about that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
What are we looking at here? Oh, what's this? Oh,
What's this? Craig's doing something. Trophies, I think.
It's the shrine, mate. It's the shrine.
Trophies.
I'm going to send you a picture I've got of the Richmond boardroom.
That'd be boring.
That's another story.
That was one of your better industrial wins, wasn't it, Stephen? When you redesigned the Richmond Social Club.
Yes, Richmond Footy Club. Yes, many years ago.
I didn't think much of your collar scheme, but it was okay.
Is that when we nearly went broke? Hey?
The Dave Mandy room.
All right, guys. Well, I think hopefully we've got something out of this tonight.
Yep, it's been good. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Stephen, one thing we did get, it was a solid promise of volunteering a big event by Rod Fuller. So well done, Rod.
No, he's event director.
Oh,
Of that one event, yeah.
Hey, Rod, we'll bring that up on Tuesday at the Sailing Committee meeting. I think
please do, Paul.
I think that's realistic. I think that we could do that. I think we're only in competition on long weekends with ORCV. And the boats that are going to do the ORCV events on that weekend, long weekend, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that we could get some momentum in that over a long weekend, and I think we could, within the next 12 months, that's a good reality, I reckon.
Yeah. The other thing too, Paul, with that was, getting families involved too through that. Car aspect, boat aspect, a bit of both, that sort of thing.
Yep. No, we'll definitely look into that. That's great.
Okay, good.
And any other ideas?
Sounds good.
Feed them back to us, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Paul.
Well done, guys.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.